probably a one-shot deal. We'll
That's
never see
what
that
this-
tie again.
Very possible. Very possible.
Can't even tell. Might be wearing the Super Bowl.
You never know, do you? Especially in that league.
What do you got there?
My backup employee that I've had, George Gassman, is having some health issues. He's not going to be able to fill in for me. So I've talked to Gene Lutz. He's a retired county employee. He said he'd be up for doing that and I'd be okay with it.
Okay.
That's all right with you guys.
I don't know him, but it's okay.
Yeah, he's read the equipment store stuff.
I don't know either.
Yeah, he come over. He come out.
Somebody was going with a chair.
Yeah. Gee,
Didn't have to use it very much. So I pretty much take my vacations in the winter. And they're not very busy down there in the winter. It's their time of year. The road department, they're not extremely busy. And Friday I'm going to get the household letters waste trailer, so I'll be here the 29th. I want to get that implemented.
29?
29th, yes, from 9 to 1.
County shop.
And you already get.
do you charge for bringing
No.
household waste in? Is that the idea here?
That's the hazardous waste, yeah.
So that's like paint,
Paint,
Chemicals.
chemicals.
farm chemicals in
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, you get a lot of atrazine, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Around whatever. House, not really household, but it's
Hazardous waste.
hazardous. And I've got, last time before last is up there, I told you guys that we can't start paying for e-waste. I talked to Rice County. The reason they're starting to charge their grant that they were working on is up, and so I haven't taken the load up yet. I have a load ready to go. That's, I told you guys I put together some figures. It's basically it's further to go to Rice County than it is Hutch, but taking it to Hutch, we're not recycling. It's $29 a ton at Hutch. They charge 10 cents a pound for e-waste, which calculates out to $200 a ton.
In Rice County?
Yeah,
It's 200 a ton?
200 a ton to get rid of it. And it's 29 ton to throw it away.
It's too bad.
That is a shame.
Well, with recycling, I mean, for some reason, when you got to pay to get rid of it, it's really high. Products that are made by to recycling, which is a good thing, it's really high. Any recycled stuff is extremely.
There's a place, should be a place to pick it that took that in. It was, more or less say like a
Well, Rice County
green
was-
type thing.
Basically, there was a hub, there were several
Yeah.
counties bringing it to them.
Yeah.
They were on a grant, got a building put up for it and all that.
But although there's still bids or not, but I think you still had to pay for some things and some things you didn't pay for, like
Well, yeah,
the monitors, I think.
monitors was $5 if you were a business. Profit, it's probably about the only thing we charge for on that.
You might see if you can't find that, you can probably Google it, address, see what's any recyclers around, maybe you can find some others for you. Are you need to go right now with something or what?
No.
Maybe you might be able to find something in the area that's, outside of those two that's.
I thought you said Pratt had something. Maybe we were talking about something else, some
No.
other ways, but we could go to Pratt.
No,
That's some-
e-waste collection, so.
I'm sure it was something else.
They,
Pratt does have their own, they have a HHW facility. But,
they'd be the cardboard newspapers one.
That was Pratt. Is that what I'm thinking of?
yeah, see, probably what you were thinking of was Pratt had talked to me about going off on their own instead of being the middleman with Harper, Sunflower, RCD, or Recycle.
Yeah.
And he never had to get back with me, so they worked something out as far as percentage that they were charging for the marketing on recycling.
Okay. Well, my opinion is it's a shame that I'm not going to pay $200 a ton to be green.
I mean, you know, if I
If
can
it was even
find,
close.
you know, I'll look, try to find another outlet for it, but if not, you know, I mean, I'm not so loaded up right now that it's sitting
If
there.
you can't, I mean, you can't.
We don't charge people to bring it in. Or we
No,
do?
not unless it's a business, just not getting rid of the monster.
So on a quarterly average, like how many, would we have a ton of stuff?
Yeah, you know, that stuff adds up pretty heavy. I got the closed trailer. I mean, I've never weighed one because I never had to. But I imagine it's probably a little over a ton to load. And you're looking about, on average quarterly, one load a quarter, about, you're looking at $800 a year probably.
Well, I just hate to see these things go in the landfill, but I guess
Two.
it's for the cost, we don't have a choice really.
It's not, as far as the distance to Lyons is to Hutch, it's about the same, isn't it?
It's a little further along.
It's actually further than Lyons, so it's costing us both ways.
So-
Hutch doesn't have any kind of a facility like that. I can't believe it. But they don't, there's nothing there in Wichita.
No, the only thing Hutch has got that's different from everybody else is their recycled mattresses.
Yeah, they do, they do.
They got a building over there, they stack them in there.
They rebuild them up there.
They rebuilt.
So do you still have to take the serial numbers down and all that
No.
to go to Hutch?
Serial number, yeah, for,
I mean, I thought you had to record something if you took it to Lyons.
yeah, I had a log.
A log.
It's a log, it's, just, you know, the date you received it,
Okay.
what it was, what county it was from. You have to log, or, not the county, but the city with the zip code that it's from.
And with Hutch, you don't have to do that.
Dumb. But I can't believe Wichita doesn't have some type of recycling thing. A city that size, as much of that kind of stuff as they would generate.
Well, I haven't checked with Wichita, I'm sure they do, but, I mean, it's probably cost involved in it also.
Yeah, because I got, a couple of years ago, I seen the deal they had at the, after the arena, so they had a day people could bring
Yeah,
recycling, then they had cars lined up to show it off.
They had to get a
Mile way lined up, and they had several people out there that looked at it.
So there's going to be a cost involved in it too, is what you're saying.
I think that was the reason they did too, for this cost for them, the individuals giving it.
Okay.
Well, unless you find somebody else, I guess we don't have a choice. Take it to Hutchinson.
All right. That's all I had, those three items.
How's the pit going?
Well, they discovered that when it's cool in the morning, they could see the day after we was up here, they had those scrapers down and going. Well, you know, it's cold enough out when it's 26 degrees, something like that, or I get clay hardened up enough, they was both out there going in, back midday, they were back pushing it. It warmed up.
What percent done are they about for their?
We had a surveyor out there Friday, and he's the east half, he's within 3 foot of being at the bottom, and the whole west half he's lacking about 6 feet.
It'll be done before it gets wet.
Wednesday.
Once it gets to the bottom, he's still got a burn to build around it and get the dirt slope down on the 2 reams in the pit. All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Lisa, do you have anything?
No, I'm still drinking my first cup of
Oh, I
coffee.
see. So
I
you
gotta
need,
wake up first.
oh,
I'm sitting here trying to think.
is that what that noise was?
Yeah.
You need approval to change your voting.
Change my voting place to the end.
Do you need a motion?
Mhm.
Yes. I move that we change the voting place to the annex.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Oh, that would be nice.
So do you have to send that to the state and so forth? Okay. Anything else right at the moment?
You want to do the sealed bid?
Sure.
Last week, Steve told you that no bids had been received for the rollout bed. Well, he forgot that he ran that ad until Friday the 21st.
Oh.
So he has a bid. It came in the mail, and I didn't realize it was a bid. So I called Steve when I looked at the ad and told him he could not give that thing away, so I hope he did.
Exciting intentions of building.
We have one sealed bid offer for $31 for the rollout pickup bed tray. Mike Saylor.
Cool. Pays for the advertising.
Not quite.
Not quite.
I guess I make a motion to approve the bid.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Mike is a proud owner of a rollout
We
tray. We hope.
We have to go conference that kid.
And he got the painting done downstairs, if you noticed.
No, it didn't.
Yeah,
Didn't go
got all
down.
that done, so.
Who's he?
Mike,
Mike did?
he filled the holes in, took the board down there,
Mhm.
and he's got it all slicked up. It looks really good.
Good.
All right, we'll recess.
You don't think he's here?
I know.
Do we need him?
Well, is he the only one that knows anything about these?
Yeah.
Not me, that's for sure.
Not me.
So, well, let's recess and talk.
Files come in.
We have another right-of-way thing?
Yeah.
No, I ain't gonna approve it. I just said I'm gonna not approve one, just see what happens.
Well, this one's already been done, and it was running through a culvert, and I finally got them to,
They stuck it through the cold.
no, they didn't, they bought it this way, they didn't know for something. This
Musgrove,
was operated before.
is this one? Is this just one?
Yes,
Is it a saltwater line? What is it?
yes, run it over to disposal.
Who is it?
Musgrove Energy is Casey Musgrove.
Really?
It's a-
It's not our Musgroves from up here?
It might have
Jim?
been. He has quite a bit of production.
Jim and Steve. Yeah. Steve's a pumper, Jim's a geologist. This isn't who this is?
No, his name is Casey.
Casey Musgrove. And that's already been done and they're gonna fix it, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're boring the road and putting a line where it should be, not running through the culvert.
So that's a good thing. Good. Then that's on there, so I don't care.
It's actually about 2.5 miles east of Hudson.
Yeah, I see that.
A mile west of Stafford. I can pass that on to somebody else. Oh, Lisa.
We're waiting on the attorney.
So you have a problem with that, right?
No.
I make a motion to approve this right-of-way agreement for Musgrove Energy.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and second. All in favor say
I'm
aye.
kidding there.
Sorry, I just had a little slip there. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Is that me? I thought I shut
It's
this
right
off.
there.
I got a tape or two. Hello. Yes. Yes. Okay. How much are you paying for them? I wouldn't mind having one more. Okay. Right?
That's on.
I think that's fine. What you're paying is fine. Yes. Well, if you buy them, you need to buy them all. And I'm thinking, $600-700.
I have to add this
They're
one.
worth way, way more than that. One row unit's worth that much almost, so I don't know. Just call me and tell me what they're bringing, all right?
Okay.
All right.
As soon as he gets back.
I'm sorry, but I gotta throw this.
Phil's requesting an executive session for 10 minutes.
I move we're going to executive session for 12 minutes for non-elected personnel.
I second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Motion carried.
I go find Rule.
Oh, no.
Phone calls from somebody.
Morning, Joe.
Morning.
You're deep in thought.
Oh, I'm just tired driving back from Belleville's
Maybe we'll,
Saturday late. Bent over with that motion, crank, just knocks it back.
Okay, my name's Real Fred.
I'm Joe.
Did you meet?
I'm Hillary.
You live on Dartmouth Road.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I drive past your place every time I come down here.
Yeah, I do live on Dartmouth Road. It's a great house on the, yeah.
They call it the Hudson Hood.
Good point.
When you hit K-19 from there on, it's the Hudson Road.
That's why I'm so confused.
Okay, thanks for meeting with us. Hillary,
Ronnie, the new members is Ron Coleman.
hello.
Hello.
We'll use him for official time.
Okay, that's all right.
Hillary comes to us through our agreement with Pratt, our management services agreement, in case you were putting people in the place that we was aware of. The hospital is in a cash flow line,
You need a copy.
and
Joe, do you want a copy?
Sure, I'll take it.
we have
I have it.
And in having that, we are checking on Fund 1?
No fun.
No Fund 1. And we have no experience or knowledge among us. I think the only one in here that does is Joe.
Yeah, we've got quite a few of them, actually, but not since the 1980s.
Basically, I can answer what questions you've got, but basically, there's less people in the last year admitted to the hospital. There's probably 80 to 90% of what gets admitted to the Stafford hospital will be older people with Medicare, Medicaid. I don't know if you understand all that, but roughly you get 101% of cost is what they pay. Not what you bill them, of cost. If you get somebody in there that can't pay, you're not going to recoup it with 101% of cost. I mean, I don't know how else to explain that part.
I can explain the sheet in front of you if you want me to. The bank balance in the operating and the payroll account as of last Friday was $51,007. Anticipated deposits this week, we have a $22,000 for Medicare, a minimal amount for Medicaid, and they deposit approximately $1,500 to $1,800 per day just from people paying their bills or insurances, and that's where the $8,000 comes from. Tuesday's payroll is those four items, $49,000 for the actual payroll, taxes and deductions and capers, comes to $88,000. So as you can see, by the time we get to the end of the month, we're $7,000 in the hole. What we have not paid is anyone else. There is a very large folder of checks that are currently being held by the accounts payable accounting lady to sum to $237,773. We also have a stack of invoices from September that have not been entered or paid in the amount of $53,000. And the $300,000 is if things continue as they are today for the next 3 months. My understanding of the financials so far is that we are spending approximately $100,000 more per month than we are bringing in. There are several reasons for that, the most notable of which is that Dr. Bauer left. We've had Docs Who Care covering the physician clinic and the hospital. That is a sporadic coverage, and Docs Who Care are not as vested in making the plea to their patients to stay at the local hospital because they get paid, doesn't really matter. They're good docs, they don't have the vested interest as the local people do. So the board and Kelly and I, Kelly's my partner from Pratt who's working on this, we'll be working on things that we can do, reviewing all of our contracts, making sure that we only have people in the hospital working when we need them. It's called, they take a low census day, those kinds of things. So we're working on those issues, but as of today, this is the cash position of the hospital, or will be by the end of the calendar year.
Now, we have moved Brenda Mercer to the clinic,
Mm-hmm.
or she agreed to go to the clinic, and she's a nurse practitioner. So that takes down part of Docs Who Care.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on another item that I could tell you about, but it would have to be an executive session for the moment. And then the health insurance, which you guys are looking at here too. The hospital actually is under the state health insurance pool, which was put in when it was a district hospital, but you're signed up for so many years before you can get out of it. Okay, this is the last year of that. So you had to notify them in October on a certain date if you were not going to renew it. That has been done because that bill per month is $45,000. And I'm not throwing numbers out.
You know what?
We're going to stop doing that. We're going to find
Yeah,
out.
we're already having quotes on insurance.
There you go.
The problem with it is we can't, not only is it high, we can't increase the amount the employee pays, we can't increase the deductible, and we can't increase the co-insurance.
With the current one.
Right.
Right.
It's just a total lot.
But you've already said you're not going to do that.
Yes, sir.
Is it paying through what now, this insurance?
Pardon?
It's
The state.
The state?
The state, whatever they do for their employees, it's not capers, but it's the state pool, state insurance
I
pool.
wonder why the state did that anyway.
Yeah.
And then when we wanted our history, was it? Census, basically, they charged us $500 to get that. So I think there's several people looking at moving. But it's high, and you have ways to adjust your health insurance is either on how much your employee pays, your deductible, or your co-insurance, or all three.
Absolutely.
It's your only control you have, and we have none of those in this plan. And that contract was entered into before you got the hospital, and there's no way to get out of it till now. And that letter's already sent. But that is a bill that comes every month. And we checked on their computer program to get out of that one. And you can get out of it all right, and Pratt's more than willing to share computer services for a whole lot less money. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn
That's right.
there. The only problem is the buyout of that agreement that was entered into way back when is $200,000. So,
There's no time limit on it?
not that
Well,
I
no,
heard.
it's an extended contract. It's like a 10-year contract. What all hospitals are going through, you guys have heard of electronic medical records and the ARA funds, the American Reinvestment Recovery Act. They made money available to help all hospitals go to an electronic medical record. What the company is doing that Stafford Hospital is with is They specialize in working with very small hospitals such as Stafford, and they have a very long time period because each hospital has limited funds, and so they're doing it over a longer time period, so it's more limited on the amount of money you put in at any one time, but they require a longer term investment via time-wise, so that they get their return on their money for helping you, kind of thing. So,
Can you educate us any on those warrants?
No fund warrants? No fund warrants are essentially a check, an overdraft check where you're writing a check and you're going to have to cover it later on. And before you get to use that extraordinary remedy, you have to get permission from, well, now it's the Court of Tax Appeals. It used to be the Board of Tax Appeals. And typically, they want to hear a real sad story of unforeseen contingencies. Classic example would be with the city of Stafford, their utility caught fire, burned up. That's your classic unforeseen contingency where the city of Stafford, for example, could probably go to the Court of Tax Appeals and with a straight face say, hey, give us authority to issue some no-fund warrants because we have to replace our electric utility. The hospital's case is more problematic because we don't have a particular unforeseen contingency. We just have a decline in revenues. And
does the local physician leaving?
that is what you would have to argue if indeed you were to apply for no fund warrants.
What are the other options for the hospital to borrow money since it's a public entity?
Well, the hospital, believe it or not, unlike the county or even the city, a hospital is not constrained by the cash basis law which is set forth in Chapter 10 of Kansas Statutes Annotated. A hospital can lawfully borrow money. Of course, that's going to be very problematic because I'm not sure who's in the business of lending to hospitals. The other thing that can be done, and it's kind of what I call a bridge, it's known as a temporary note, where basically you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Temporary notes typically require you to have some anticipated revenue in the near future to make up for the amount of the note. I have downstairs, I brought it with me, a set of temporary notes that Gilmore and Bell, a law firm in Wichita, did for Ellsworth County. I've actually done temporary notes, myself, but if you want something that's going to arguably be saleable, to the public, you go with a specialized law firm like Gilmore and Bell that knows how to comply with all these Securities Act of 1933 and 34 and whatnot.
I've used them on industrial revenue bonds.
Yeah, they did the bonds for the hospital, correct?
I did 2 IOBs, so I used them twice. Steve Strogan.
Now, temporary note, what is repayment? What's
Again, the temporary note
it's temporary, is that right?
typically works when you have a shortfall, like we have here, but you also have some anticipated revenue, say a year or so out. That's the question here, is where is the anticipated revenue coming from?
And does the tax levy from the county count?
Well, you'd have to up the levy is what
Correct.
But it's already been set.
Now, the biggest problem is we have a finished budget for 2012. I don't think the county commissioners are going to want to try and change, but that's just such a can of worms. I would strongly advise against it, which means your next bump in revenue is only going to come in 2013.
Well,
the county.
It's my understanding that the county commissioners approved for 2012 the dollar amount that was approved for 2011 for tax mill levy. based on the numbers today, we will be in this same position at 6 or 8 months into 2012 as we are in 2011. Because the tax revenue is just not enough to cover the shortfall. Now, obviously, there are 100 things that we will be looking at to reduce expenses and cash outlays. So hopefully that will not be as bad as it is currently, but without those changes that we'll need to make at the hospital, we'll run into the same thing. I just want to forewarn you, you may be getting to see me again.
So, if I understand what you said right, these temporary notes, but we can't, in the 2013, we can't say that there'll be more budgeted because we've came the last 3 years and gotten about 200,000 less than what we asked for the budget. So how would we propose in those that would be getting an increase?
You would basically, and this would be the big if, you'd have to condition these notes on basically a bump up in tax
I know, but we
rates in
don't control that.
2013. Well, the hospital would not issue the note, the county would.
Okay, all right, okay.
And
I just didn't know how we were going to do that because we don't have that authority. Okay. So the options are either, well, they're all really their options, not ours, is go to the Court of Appeals, which is, you gotta do these things. I appreciate the information because I have no experience at all with this stuff. Or the temporary note, which would have to be their decision.
Correct.
So we need to leave them to talk about it. Maybe we ought to go in executive session and tell them the one part. But I really can't say no because I don't know it's all been approved. Don't you think? Because that information, you know it. But give us 10 minutes.
15.
Okay.
Well, it's just always goes.
This will be personnel.
For personnel.
For non-elected personnel, 15
Yes.
minutes.
Mhm.
I make a motion to go to executive session 15 minutes for all that personnel.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're in executive session for 15 minutes for non-elected personnel.
It's due 5 months after the end of the fiscal year for our calendar year. And then the government pays you money. And then they do an audit and they either say yes or no, or next year things change. What you can do is file an interim cost report, which is being worked on currently, which says based on the first 6 months, you owe us money. You, the federal government, Medicare, owe us money. We want it now. We don't want to wait until next June. We want it now. And that's being worked on and finalized by the auditors currently. They're the ones who prepare the cost report. And that, I think it's $50,000 or $60,000.
51.
Is it 51? That we'll get from them. That's about a 6-week process once it's finalized, and it should be finalized the first part of this week. And I will see the auditor at a meeting tomorrow and was going to pick his brain. The other thing is the cost report itself is a very complicated spreadsheet type of a document. And how you fill it out and what you do in your clinic and what you do in your home health agency and what you do in your hospital all have large ramifications on the cost report. That's why the huge swings. A clinic is not a Medicare reimbursable item per se. Home health is not. So all of those things have huge impacts on your cost report. I do not know, because I haven't had the time, which has been a couple weeks at this, I do not know the ramifications of changing items on the cost report and if there is something that we can change. Can we do something different in the hospital, how we legally file the cost report and have it be more beneficial to us versus less beneficial to us?
Well, I'm
And
not
stop
talking
those
about
large
changing.
swings.
I mean, from what I
But stop those
understood,
large swings as well.
well, I'm not even discussing that at this point. What I'm assuming here is that, it swings because of your patient load.
Mm-hmm.
And in the simplest terms, the ratio.
Yes, sir.
It takes so many dollars to operate the hospital. The federal government says we want a hospital there. If you only have 2 patients a month, we're going to allow you so much per patient. That's your cost.
Right,
Cost
for
per
Medicare.
patient. And if you have 30 patients, then your cost per patient goes way down. In simplest term, well,
Right.
it does. It's
Right.
not should, it does. Your ratio moves up and down according to that. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out, okay, our patient's load has gone way down, so our cost ratio should go up, at least.
Only on the ones that are in there, Roger.
Only on Medicare, that's why I said it
If
should.
you don't have many admitted,
Then your cost goes up.
but you don't get as many to be reimbursed for.
Yeah. You only have two, you
You're
only
right
get paid
with
for
what you're
two.
saying, but if
Well-
you only have two of them,
Mhm.
they're only gonna pay their share of the cost on those two, not on all of them.
I understand that.
Okay?
And hopefully the other ones have insurance and you're getting paid fully for them.
If you have people in there.
Right.
Yeah, the overall usage of the hospital has dropped. The reason I said the word should is because you are correct, except the federal government only pays on the Medicare portion. So if Medicare portion went way down, then your cost per patient, yes, did go up, but the federal government will not be paying for that.
If
That's
the
what-
Medicare portion doesn't go down, if you have patients in there who are not on Medicare, that means
They're
they're
paying patients.
That means they're paying patients. So that's not even a.
If they are paying patients.
Well, are you telling us that you have a lot of patients that are not paying? Is that how? I want to know how we got in this position.
I'm not gonna tell you we have a lot of patients, but we do have some, we do get some.
Well, we've always had a few. Is it a lot higher than it was?
No, I can tell you that over the last year, they have wrote off a lot of accounts receivable.
I'm sorry, I can't give you, I don't know the payer mix. I haven't been in the numbers long enough to be able to
I don't need
provide that
numbers
to
so
you.
much as I need to know why we're here. You know, is that your reason?
Why we are here is the revenues have gone down and the expenses have not changed. That is my assessment
And
of
the
the
revenues have
financials.
gone down because,
Dr. Bauer is not here, and you have had a full-time person not directing his patient traffic to the hospital
so revenues have gone down because people haven't been being admitted to the hospital.
or using it for outpatient services, yes.
Okay.
And usually when you see a
And the
revenue
hospital has
decrease,
not adjusted
correct, you should see a decrease
The
in
staff
expenses.
or other
for
expenses.
staffing. Exactly.
in that regard. Okay. Some of that could be alleviated with the Medicare thing. Some of the shortfall at this point, because your cost per patient is going to go up. But we don't have any idea what that is.
No. I know that based on the interim cost report, the receivable is $51,000, and that was based on, I think, the first 6 months of the year.
And your ER is a very expensive thing to manage. And you're saying that we'll get most of that back, but you don't get that back till, that you don't get back at all till June or July, right?
But what I'm trying to answer is his question.
I understand
Is
that.
if we have a note, how are we going to pay it back? We have to be able to answer that question.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to tell us the answer to.
My
that
answer to that
question.
question is it would come from the streamline and efficiency in operations and the growth of patients and services
In the long run.
in the long run. Yes, sir.
This, how long term are we talking about? 6 months, a year? What would this be?
Typically, you're talking in terms of a year, typically.
A year from the date the note is issued, I'm
Yeah.
assuming? Okay. Is that long enough? No.
Because you're saying that you issued the note earlier, that you have to have something that says how it will be paid back,
Yes.
that has to be halfway concrete, not.
Like the Medicare thing, like, oh, we know
That's
we're gonna
not
get this,
concrete.
but it will be at some point.
At some point, but it's not concrete as of today.
Yes, that's.
So therefore, the only thing concrete is taxes.
So what you're asking for is a tax increase? Is that what you're here to ask for?
Well, we were here to find out what non-fund warrants were originally.
And again, they're a,
But in this other way, yeah, we're asking, I guess essentially for the budget to be where we proposed it to be. But you can't adjust the budget till 2013.
Right.
So
That's correct. As if I understand that.
Well, it's a pain.
in theory, you can go in and amend the budget, but that's
You have to go back to the
such an
hearing process.
involved
So
process.
you're talking about it would be addressed on 2013 as far as how you could issue it, of what I'm understanding. So that's a 2-year note, not a 1-year note.
Well, so when's the fiscal year for the hospital? Is it,
December 31st.
so it's just like the county? Okay. We can't get to December 31st?
Even with cuts, I doubt it.
We haven't paid bills for 3 months.
Jeez.
Any bills. There's currently $300,000 outstanding for physicians, utilities, food, medical supplies, not to mention just generic things that you need to make a hospital run, oil and tires. I do not have an accounts payable listing, partially because the process they were going through was actually cutting a check. If you guys remember to your accounting, when you cut a check, it takes it out of accounts payable and it takes it out of cash. Because you're gonna mail it, you're gonna pay it, you no longer owe that money. Well, since we're holding the check, it's already been taken out of accounts payable, so literally the only record of this that I have is a stack of checks that haven't been mailed. And that's why I cannot give you today an accounts payable listing that says we owe Paul's downtown 3 months worth of invoices for $12,000. I don't know that. All I know is this 237 because of the way they processed it before. From this point forward, I can be able to change an accounts payable list because we've stopped that check writing process. Don't write a check unless it's going to get mailed and you expect them to deposit it. So we have an accurate picture and an accurate record of the exact accounts payable that is owed by the hospital.
So then at the end of the year, hopefully you can do away with some of this $45,000 per month in health insurance.
Yes.
Yeah, it won't be a total savings because there'll be a health insurance cost, so
Yeah.
it won't be as high. We haven't got the quotes back in.
No.
And the docs who care are essentially over with now.
Yes, there's an invoice to be paid for the October, and that's the $25,000, the large invoice for parts of October, and then there's a little bit of continuing monies to be paid to cover Brenda in the clinic, and we're working on remedies for that.
And she started in the clinic like October 4th or 5th, wasn't it? That's when she started there.
There are some increases on the revenue side. When she needs to be marketed, we need to have some discussion with the physicians on what services we do provide, make sure they're educated. That happens in any city. Doctors, they get in a routine just like the rest of us, and they forget, oh, the local hospital can do that as well. So there are some conversations like that need to be had, which will be started tomorrow morning with the medical staff meeting, the monthly medical staff meeting that we'll be having at the hospital to discuss those issues, reminding them of all the services we can do locally and that we want to do locally. And it's basically a shop local program. I mean, just like local merchants, it's a shop local for the hospital.
May I ask a question? Is there capital outlay funds that you guys have? No?
We have none, just whatever the tax. budget is.
So all of the county's money is what's on this report? There's no other funds that aren't being,
There is a fund, there's the Health Foundation has money, but it's a separate entity.
I don't even know if that's tax money.
It's not, I don't think it's tax money.
It's donations.
Yeah, it's donations.
Contributions,
Yeah.
what's the balance of it?
I don't know.
It's in the 40s. That's what they told me anyway, Frank. But that's a foundation where people have donated money to it.
Right.
And they've got their own board, and that sort of thing.
Help with the health
Will
there
there
and
be-
things like that.
Will there be any other tax distributions this year?
Yeah, we're working on it right now.
So
This is
that'll
the
be,
last one.
is it sizable or not? Not really.
I'll go find out right now because she's working
Will
on
there
it.
be some tax?
I was going to ask that question, are they distributed money every month like their
They're working on the
balance
last
sheet
one.
shows, or do they get it in lump sums?
4 times a year?
Get it
Yeah,
lump
I don't
sums.
think this didn't have that in it.
And so, yeah, that's not
She's gonna
in
go
this
find out
payroll
what that's
part at
gonna
all.
be.
No,
I mean,
my understanding was that we weren't not owed any more tax money, so.
There's some counties.
She would know.
They're working on
Good.
that.
Hey, bonus!
I would know.
See, I was like,
A little bit
yay!
helps, yeah, a little raise in.
That's right.
I guarantee I must have been.
They will get some.
The problem here in Stafford County, though, is we have a very static tax base, no growth. The only way you raise more revenues is off the mill
Is
levy.
this for the hospital now?
Right.
I got a quarter. We're gonna need more than pennies for that one.
That is true.
This is not an easy topic. I recognize that. It is
That's true.
very, very difficult. It's not a fast resolution that we, long-term. The problem today is that we will begin having vendors start to call. There are explanations that can be made. The explanations that cannot be made is to employees. And so what I do not want to do is not pay payroll, because that would
Clayton, I would really like to hear some comments from you. I'm sure you've had a lot, thought about this a lot.
Well, the thing that concerns me that if the hospital closed, it would be a major economic impact on the county. You know, we're looking at, I forget what the multiplier is and what the total payroll is for the year, but I think it could amount to, several $1 million economic in the county.
It's already, last month it was 1.2 million payroll, I think.
Yeah, the end of September is 1 point, I can tell you.
And I feel that some of these problems probably arise from the former administrator.
It's a $2.2 million payroll per year.
2.2.
Conservatively, money turns over 4 times. I mean, that's an ultra conservative number in communities.
Now, was this electronic records and stuff, was that a wash? Is that, you said something about recovery, help pay for...
For critical access hospitals, long-term, your cost will be given back to you through the Medicare program. So yes, long-term, it's a wash. Unfortunately, they gave the largest burden for the cash up front to the hospitals who could least afford it. And that is small critical access hospitals, small rural hospitals, because nobody has the cash to go buy a $200,000 system and then get paid for it later. But that's essentially what would have to happen. That's essentially what is happening. In our monthly fee that we pay to Midwest Data Source, they, piece by piece, are adding different sections to make it electronic health record.
$2,500 is all you're getting. And that's the rest of your budgeted amount for the year.
What do you think? I see a solution there. You have an idea?
Well, she stated that you think the hospital's feasible if some of these changes are made, you think it can stay in existence. You feel pretty confident that that's not just going to, just keep.
No, sir. I firmly believe that it won't be easy.
I don't know, but you think there's a fix if we can get this short-term stuff,
Yes,
get back
I
on
do.
feet, there's a fix there.
Yeah.
Well, that's-
And how much short-term money do we need? That's probably a big question.
$300,000 to get even to today, to the end of October. And then it's $100,000 short if we continue to operate the way we're operating now for each month. We bring in roughly $290,000 a month the last 2 months, and I only use the last 2 months because that has that's the situation we're currently in without a full-time physician on the revenue side. Any increments in any incremental increase in revenues will help, and any incremental decrease in expenses would help.
Okay, so it takes $300,000 to fix it to this point, and it takes $100,000 a month after that just to break even.
Yes, sir. With operations the way they are today,
Without,
without any cuts. Right.
Is there some sort of plan that can be prepared to project all of this? I mean, you just can't go off of, well, this is what we anticipate, but if you have a plan in writing, I mean, do you have anything like that prepared, or?
No, not yet. I got this far on Friday. We were doing good. What I can tell you, some of the changes that we've already put into place to begin with. One is the hospital belongs to a group purchasing organization, which is, I'm sure something you guys have all heard about. It's a bunch of people get together and they buy, and because they buy together, they get reduced prices. Okay, we've moved the hospital to the group purchasing organization that Pratt Regional Medical Center uses, and they're going to get better prices. So the contracts have been signed with that, and the notices are going out to change vendor pricing. So we should see an immediate reduction on all of our purchase of supplies and drugs. Food would be the next one to look at. I do believe that the hospital gets a lot of food locally, which may not be the cheapest way to do it, but it is a local economic positive. And at the Pratt Regional Medical Center, we have a policy that says if the local vendor is within 5 to 7%, we will buy locally. Stafford, to the best of my knowledge, does not have a policy like that, but I would think it would be a consistent thing that we should be doing, is we need to buy locally when we can as well. The other thing is a review of all contracts that have started to make sure that what we are paying, we actually need. We also had a management team meeting last Thursday and talked about hamburger versus steak. We will be eating hamburger for the next year. We will not be eating steak. When we get done, we'll be eating steak. We also talked about needs versus wants, and when I say I need it, do I really need it today, or do I really need it 3 months from now? So we've begun the discussions with the people who can affect those areas and where they can affect them and how they can affect them. What we have not had a conversation with anyone is staffing levels. And that's because it takes a little while to have that conversation. And what I do not want to have happen is everyone panic at the hospital and leave, and then we have no staff, because that doesn't do us any good either. We need some staff to cover. And staffing is a very difficult thing to have to go through.
Are you, is furloughing on the staff a consideration, or?
Well, they currently are furloughed. We call it low census, which is if lab PT, let's pick PT because they're the ones that are usually scheduled. If PT has no one scheduled after 2 o'clock today, then the PTA will go home. So she just didn't work 3 hours today, 2 or 3 hours today. She does not turn in PTO. She just didn't work it. So essentially, it's a furlough of a couple hours a week, taken in increments when they can, based on patient census. There are some departments you cannot do that with, such as you must have a couple nurses in the building somewhere to cover the emergency room. But yes, there are other, I mean, if there aren't any patients, lab x-ray, anything else, what I have seen done at other hospitals we did in Marion was, based on census, everyone from the CEO down left for either 4 hours a week or 2 hours a week. We absolutely can begin implementing that. And although some departments, for instance, HIM and billing, HIM, which is medical records, is always busier the week after, because you take care of a patient, you have a medical record, and then HIM has to do their stuff. It basically was, this is the census, everybody goes home for 2 hours or 4 hours this week. And those are all plans that we can look at and put in place to come up with a long-term plan. Basically what I need in order to give what you're asking for is a little bit more time with the numbers and information. We just haven't been in this long enough to know all that information yet. I haven't.
Well, it appears it's a pretty critical situation right now, but whatever. Any advice from the county attorney?
Well, the only thing we haven't mentioned, of course, is a bond issue, but that necessarily requires an election, so.
Take a lot of time.
And elections are expensive, as our county clerk will attest to.
And once I've been on it, it takes quite a while to get to that point. And Gilmore and Bell haven't been cheap either.
No, there's only about 3 firms that actually handle these the temporary notes, because it's such a convoluted area of the law now. Gilmore and Bell, Triplet and Wolf, and I'm trying to think of the third one. I'm drawing a blank. I know the attorneys at the firm. I can't think of the name of the firm. But basically, yeah, you're going to Wichita is what you're doing for illegal. Like I said, downstairs I have a copy of temporary notes we issued up in Ellsworth. Anyone wants to look at them. It's a really thick little thing.
So for a note, you'd have to go to an attorney like in Wichita, and then they sell the note, or you just come back?
They give you, they don't sell it, but they give you advice on what you have to have, who you have to contact, etc. Good thing about Stafford County, we're not carrying a whole lot of debt, are we? Some counties are.
But essentially, the county, the commissioners will go and ask to borrow money. Now, can you do it from your local banks?
Local banks have been known to purchase.
So we have to go through these attorneys to do this no matter what?
Because you got to comply with the various federal laws. Let me go down and grab that. You can see how involved it is.
I don't really want to know.
The big difference in a temporary note and a bond issue is temporary note you can do without the election. It's going to be quicker and it's going to be cheaper. Bond issues are expensive. Because after you get permission of the voters,
So we can do a temporary note to alleviate our temporary problems, and then and once you get through your stuff and we see really where the hospital is, we could, then if it's going to take a mill levy increase or bond, whatever, we could address that issue then.
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Is that what you're suggesting to us, I think? I'm not even sure what we're being.
I think at the present time, yeah, we didn't know. We learned as you did today.
Well,
We didn't know
no matter
anything
what you
either.
call it, I think that's what it's going to, whether
Yeah,
it's-
we need a temporary cash relief to get us, in order to operate for the next 3-4 months. And then,
so that we can come up with
so we
a
can come up
solid
with a
plan.
long-term, absolutely, long-term solid plan.
Okay, we need 2 plans. We need a plan that's going to say how we're going to pay the temporary note off. And then we need a long-term plan for the longevity of the hospital. We're going to need solid figures for that so that we can say, we need to decide if this is viable or not.
Absolutely.
We need to decide if the county can afford to have this hospital.
Right.
And I'm not sure that that's my decision.
Or mine.
Right. But we need to have the right
But
numbers.
I
so
don't
that
think
the
you have the
people-
information available yet. I will get it for you, but,
We need enough time just to get that information. is
Right.
what you're
That's
saying.
why we're here.
yeah. And there will continue to be deposits to the hospital, Medicare, Medicaid, we will continue to bill.
Well, how's the accounts receivable, not to change the subject, but is there some money there that can be had?
Well, I have a report. I don't understand, I don't know everything in
You
the
don't
report.
understand it, that's great.
No. Well, I have a report. What I don't know is why at Pratt Regional Medical Center, I could tell you that this number means this, and I can tell you why it's still there. I can't tell you that information. I can tell you what the report says, I can tell you the numbers, but I can't tell you why there is $48,000 that's over a year old at the hospital on the accounts receivable. I can tell you that.
What is the accounts receivable?
As of 10/10, it was $571,000.
That's down considerably. So you have collected pretty well.
Yeah, there's some wrote off that.
Yeah.
There's in bad debt or at the collection receipt is another $681,000.
Holy cow. That explains a little bit, because we didn't have anything like that.
No, there's
Anything
no
like
accounts
that.
receivable.
It was just left there, so it looked like we had money.
One of the things that I need to provide to you.
600, is that what you said?
Yes, yes, sir. $681,000.
And that, how old is that?
543,000 is over 360 days. I don't, that's all the higher the report goes.
Well, you're not gonna collect it, are you?
No. You'll collect maybe 20% of that if your collection agency is any good, but it'll be over 5 to 7 years.
These are
Standard.
non-insured people, or, I mean, how did we get
We'd
to
have
that?
to.
A lot of them are non-insured. Some of them are people who have insurance. They don't pay their co-insurance and deductibles. I'm not answering for Stafford specifically, but in
No,
general.
in
Yeah.
general.
In general, it's either people who can't pay because they have no insurance and they have no money, people who have money but don't think that they should pay their bill, or people who have insurance but don't have the money to pay their deduction, their co-insurance and their deductibles.
That can be wrong, but in the critical access hospital, we can't turn anybody back down, can we?
You can't, no, that's not quite true. You have to see anyone, by law, you must treat anyone who comes into the emergency room for life-saving, stabilization, and labor. That's called the EMTALA, E-M-T-A-L-A Act, which is Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act. You got to treat anybody that comes into the emergency room. You have to stabilize them. You do not have to see anyone who comes in for a lab. However, it's A, bad policy, and B, bad care, and C, bad politics, to not take care of people who can't pay. All hospitals, especially public entities such as this one, should have some provision for people who can't pay, some kind of charity policy. If you were a legal not-for-profit, that's what you use to justify your not-for-profit status. There's a big hullabaloo about that. So.
Definitely qualify for the not-for-profit.
And I can tell you the loss as of September. Have you guys been given this information?
They haven't given anything for September. We just got it.
Okay. The loss for September was $660,000 for the year to date. So it was a $97,000 loss for the month of September, and that brings the year-to-date loss to $660,000.
And you don't think that at the end of the year that Medicare is going to make up a large portion of it?
I can't answer that question
I
today.
mean, the interim cost report was 51,000.
That's just hardly nothing.
I know, but that's what the CPA said as of Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
You could never get a straight answer as to how the formula, how that's figured. It just drives me crazy. I'm trying to
I still don't
understand it.
understand it, but that's what he put in his email.
That's telling me that you have a lot of patients in the hospital that have insurance that are paying patients. A higher percentage of them.
Well, that we have a higher percentage that aren't Medicare. They may be private pay. I can tell you in the
There
farmer clinic that we manage, there is a higher percentage of private pay patients to total than in any of the other clinics or at the Pratt Hospital. That says to me that more of the people in the Stafford area who use that clinic do not have insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. They are private pay people. I would guess that that same percentage would be similar for the Stafford Hospital as well. So if we were to compare the payer mix of this hospital to some other critical access hospital, the private pay ratio appears to be higher in the Stafford area.
Well, apparently the hospital's policy and thing needs to be revisited and made stricter.
Is there some sort of consulting firm that you can hire that works with hospitals in these situations to know, like you say, what is viable, what you know, that is really educated on this?
I think it's some expertise from right here, right now.
We hope. I'm not an expert
Well,
exactly
we
on,
thought, I mean,
on whether to close a hospital or not,
in
but
the past, we thought we were being,
part of that
just
will,
a second opinion, I guess, is what I'm thinking of.
part of that will come from the auditors, which I'll have a lengthy conversation with on their opinion from the financial aspect, as well as the cost report, which is a huge factor in critical access hospitals. Cost report, is there anything that we can do? For instance, sometimes it's beneficial to close the home health agency Because although the home health agency provides a valuable service, because it's on the cost report, it eliminates your ability to get some reimbursement from Medicare. I'm not saying that's true here, but that is one option. I know it doesn't make any sense.
We're not saying to do that.
No, sir.
No, I know that. I mean, that's the one thing that's, it usually broke even and made a little money in this particular hospital.
And
It used to.
And it may be that
Not anymore,
it
really?
offsets the loss from the cost report.
So back to this note, is it the hospital board that initiates this, or is it the commissioner?
County commissioner.
So we're to contact Gilmore or whatever and say,
Let me, you know, we're talking about something you obviously haven't done. Let me go downstairs and get that.
How long does this process take?
Couple of months.
What I figured.
We'll go get that.
Did Jason tell you when the
Jason
money,
didn't talk to me.
that he,
I just got a forwarded email that went to Joe Duvall.
did he tell you when the money would come?
All it says is 51,000 something.
Yes, for the Medicare.
That's that
Interim cost
interim
report.
cost report thing.
I can't believe you're reading.
let's recess while he goes.
Somebody that's gonna give us some money, right?
Well, it's,
Yes or no?
it's,
Isn't that what
I
this
think,
means?
and JD probably knows more about this than I ever will, but there's always a market for what are called, you know, commercial paper, short-term notes.
Okay,
And,
so we'd be selling a note
Yeah,
somewhere. Just
Kind of like the IRBs probably, where you sell them and you sell them or issue them.
although IRBs tend to have a checkered
It's kind of like a bond.
reputation.
Yeah.
Because here, you're talking full faith and credit of Stafford County. With an IRB, those are
It's
not
the
full.
corporation or
Yeah,
whoever.
those are not full faith and credit. You're basically going to be paying off the IRB with anticipated revenue.
And a lot of banks buy those.
Yeah, but, you know, there's no problem. This will, you know, a temporary note from Stafford County will sell.
We don't carry that.
So we're just going out in public in the world and selling this now.
If commissioners so choose.
So I would, it's not like me going before my banker and saying, this is my plan, this is how I'm going to repay it. We don't have to go through the process like that. Then what do we need these fancy things?
Because
Legalities.
All of the wonderful provisions of the Securities Act of 1933 and 34. You have a lot of what I call redundancies in here. I mean, it's almost like double speak, but it's necessary. And you have to have, Gilmore and Bell would be acting as quote bond counsel, unquote, and they get to opine on such topics as, it appears to us that the Board of County Commissioners was properly elected, or properly serving, stuff like that. And
Are
basically,
they,
And we pay them.
yeah,
we pay them, they're kind of responsible then in that regard?
We pay the,
yeah.
they do a percentage.
usually,
I talked to the auditor, Jason Barbers, the managing auditor for the hospital, and he said the cost report was filed, the interim cost report was filed on October 18th. It's 30 to 45 days, so the absolute earliest, if everybody's smiling down upon us, would be November 18th. Probably in the next week or two after that, we'll get the $51,000. He said, top of his head without analysis, that if the home health agency were eliminated, as we talked about before, because it pulls overhead down as a non-reimbursable cost center, we might see an increase in reimbursement of roughly $25,000 to $50,000 on the hospital. But the home health agency, on a direct basis, is a break even. 2 years ago, it made $10,000 last year, lost $3,000 this year. You know, so on a direct basis, direct expenses, it's a break even. What you'd like for non-reimbursable cost centers like that to do is contribute somewhat to overhead, but if your home health agency is break even, that's pretty good, because most home health agencies lose money. So we would see a very small $25,000 to $35,000, $50,000 reimbursement increase if we eliminated the home health agency. He said other than that, there really isn't anything else on the cost report, some minor things. I did ask him if this first half of the year and the second half, and he said probably would see an increase because you don't have a physician, your volumes are down, but they'll change the interim payment rate based on this interim cost report, which means from now till the end of the year, instead of getting $100 a day, we'll get $125. That means we'll have less reserve or less receivable that they're gonna send us when we file the
You
cost
get a
report.
bit smaller check, but you get more money now,
Yes, sir. And that will happen automatically because we filed the interim cost
and
report.
that will help.
Yes,
You just don't know how much.
right.
Just think, Nita, you get to be the issuer.
You'll be right beside.
Yeah, I'll be issuer's attorney, that's how it breaks down.
How does the money flow on that, Joe?
Well, once it's registered with the Kansas State Treasurer, you're good to go. You can even buy it yourself if the county wanted to. That's what was done in this case.
And then you would levy for that shortfall next year?
Yeah, yes.
So we're gonna
yes.
have a big jump in taxes?
Yes, you have, like I say, this is, I don't know how many pages, but the key stuff is under tax covenants, which basically is a promise to raise taxes, is what it is.
Okay.
Now, that, I don't think that occurred in Ellsworth, because again, you have slowly but steadily increasing valuation. Here, I'm not seeing that.
Are your valuations stable in Stafford County?
Well, they go up.
Yeah, with the
Depending
oil
on the oil
price.
price.
Well, the price of oil come January 1 is very problematic.
That's big for us.
The life at it, why we rely upon a price from a single day, we could easily smooth it over.
That's usually the lowest price with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, it is. With an average,
You ever notice that the price of oil typically spikes right around Memorial Day?
I guess they probably have to talk it over and get a hold of us or something.
Well, we'll have to talk to our auditor and go from there. I do have one question about, you belong to the Kansas Hospital Association. Can you get data from them on counties our size compared, that have hospitals?
What kind of data do you want?
Well, I don't know.
I want to know how much tax support they give their hospital.
Okay, I can tell you from going through the issue in Pratt that the Kansas Hospital Association does not have that. They don't track how much tax support other people get. I can give you what we have collected. Some CEO 3 or 4 years ago called every county and asked, put together some information. I will send that to you guys. I'd be happy to. And I can share anything that we've collected, but I know the Kansas Hospital Association doesn't have that. They have a lot of data, and they have a lot of comparison data, but most of the data they have is on actual hospital operations, size, revenue, expenses, that kind of stuff.
I guess what I was getting at is comparing Stafford County Hospital to other county hospitals at the size and population of Stafford County. Like Kinsley has a hospital, correct?
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Edward County.
Edwards
And
County.
is Edward same size and in population as Stafford County? Is there?
You want a peer group comparison?
Yes.
Okay. I will see what we can find.
I'd like a comparison on accounts receivable too, compared to other hospitals our size. I mean, my question is, are we in comparison, or are we totally out of the water? Just
Operationally.
Right.
I don't, I'm trying to think if Kansas has that. I'll see what we can find.
And then Joe suggested, is it a possibility we can sell some of the accounts receivable to get some cash?
Factoring, we can check into, I've never done that. I mean, there are places that will do that. The problem is usually they're factored with recourse, which means if they don't collect it, you have to pay them back. Otherwise, it's so many pennies on the dollar, it's not worth it, but we'll check into it. Nita, do I send information to you to pass the commissioners? Would you give me your email sometime before the meeting? We can get it factoring, what, by not selling receivables?
Some hospitals do that, I know. I can only imagine what the discount is, it's probably pretty steep.
Yeah.
Probably 80%.
Yeah, we can get it.
Well, 20% of $1 million would help them a lot right now.
Yep.
Could almost solve the problem.
I can get that for you, as well as getting you some financials that kind of make it a little easier to read, maybe it makes
I
sense.
appreciate that.
We can-
Yeah, this is nice, I can understand that.
Yeah, it is.
File sheet you can look at and see what's that.
Yeah, these ones here are eligible for county purchase.
Well, thanks.
Thank you. Purchase fulfillment.
Good enough to get back to you.
Is it any clearer, or is it still, you pay yourself?
Interest on that, what do you do? I mean, how does it work?
Let us know what the verdict
Like
is.
to loan the money and pay ourselves back.
It's like, you know, taking money out of your right side
I'll also
pocket,
check,
putting
there
your
are
left
a lot
side
of
pocket.
companies that have money
Accounting trick.
available for hospitals. Some of them are pretty
But we have to
crappy,
pay
fly-by-night
the attorneys, it's gonna be like a
financing.
2 month
Usually it's for,
before we get
not
it.
for operations.
Well,
but
they're
check.
they're about as
Something
fast
you
as
can
they
find someone who's willing to be a
They
partner.
got a couple people who do nothing but temporary.
We need a Band-Aid down here.
Okay.
I can give them a call today and find out what their percentage is currently, because obviously this is 2,000 or
Percentage of notes.
I had to look it up.
Thanks, Rick.
See what they billed us.
Yeah, see you Saturday.
Yeah. Because we're gonna win on Friday.
Yeah.
I got reset.
I'll leave it.
I'll leave it.
No, you did fine.
Oh, yeah.
We in recess.
Yeah.
No, we're in session.
We're in session.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's nice to
Okay,
meet you
thank
all.
you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Thank you. Nice to see you again, Blake.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll see me again.
Hope so.
Yes.
Okay. You said you were gonna contact them and see what it costs. We'll talk to
And
Amber.
there's, this is, because phone calls are cheap, I'll contact the 2 other outfits and see what they're charging for. I'm trying to think of the firm that David L. Corey is in. It's likely I can't. It's one of those deals where I know the attorneys, what firm do you work for? Again, it's very specialized, you're probably 3 folks.
Do we even have a dollar amount we want to do?
You know, that's the one thing
Well, she said 300 and then another 100,000 for the next 2 months. And
If you
then,
look at this, it says,
at the end of the year, 600,000.
But they think they can adjust that big budget.
You know, that's based on their last 3 months of, what is it?
I guess my concern is you gotta fix it or just a Band-Aid.
$300,000 immediate, and then $300,000 on projected cash shortage for the next 3 months. 600,000.
You're talking, based on this year, 7-8 mil increase.
That's 6 months.
But I would think that that 300,000 on that projected could be cut probably to 200,000. Because they're based on, she's doing this projection on the last 2 months of operation. And it's with overstaffed, that's what, what else? And of course, at $45,000 per month in health insurance is, and I forgot to ask how many lives that
Is that
covers.
is that a consideration too? Can they just stop the health insurance?
At the end of the year.
At the end of the year, the contract expires.
I'm assuming they're the State Blue Cross Blue
Yes.
Shield, which
Yeah.
is the Cadillac of health.
Oh, it's tremendous
plans.
health insurance.
And it was a 3-year contract.
$100 deductible, everything's covered.
Still, that number won't disappear, it'll just
Would it
reduce
save money if they
significantly.
piggyback
Right,
with
it'll
the county for health insurance?
Not according to
Not
They
according
won't,
to
they'll take it all off, they'll still have health
Yeah.
insurance, but it's gonna be hopefully a lesser expense.
But if they eliminate employees, that eliminates that cost itself, not just.
indicators, everything else.
Health
And it's like
insurance.
Will said, the employees, which we're going to be faced with that too, is higher deductible and higher
Same
copay.
issues with
and So they didn't feel like it was going to be, $45,000 per month, and it seemed like that was covering 27 lives or something like that.
That's all.
I think, I don't know.
I was gonna ask, but from
forgot
my
to
memory,
ask.
the hospital employed over 50-some people. The last, I'm not sure about that. So I'm just for the sake of knowledge.
That'll probably put some great thoughts on paper, send it to you, care of Nita. I was
Okay,
feel
that'd be
more
fine.
comfortable doing that than
I appreciate that.
talking. And there's one thing I've learned is every now and then your sentence gets cut into snippets.
We didn't have anything else, did we?
A certain snippet might appear on the newspaper. Cause great consternation.
Very RC.
Great, what was that word?
Consternation.
Consternation.
Yeah, I don't even think I can say that.
Is that like constipation?
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah,
It's okay. They gotta have something to laugh
Because
about.
we got another meeting at 11:30. Okay, we're adjourned.